Welcome to Forum Views, your local magazine show from Cavan TV, and you're joined by your hosts, myself, Daniel Downey, and this...
Me, Sheila Reilly. Welcome
Lovely.
to the show.
And remember, folks, if you want to come on the show, or if you have any burning topics that you want discussed on this show, contact us on cavantv.com or at drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So, this evening, who do we have on, Sheila?
Well, let's start with Karina Charles. Karina's been a guest here before, so maybe you'd like to tell us a wee bit about yourself.
Yes, second time on the show. I'm surprised you asked me back.
No.
Karine is my name, and I'm a local lassie, and to be tricking about with a bit of journalism and acting
And tell us just about the acting at the minute, because I know you're about to embark
Yes.
on a new venture, a new play.
rehearsing a new play at the minute over in Carrigallen in the beautiful Cornmill Theatre, and
lovely,
it's
yeah.
the new one from Seamus O'Rourke, who is the writer of Victor's Dung and The Sandpark, which is out at the minute. So we're just in rehearsal stage, so it's a bit nerve-wracking, and we're kick-off, I think, is at Wednesday week, so...
Exciting times.
Trying to
Where's the
learn
first
the
one? You
lines.
might as well get that.
Carrigallen,
it's in
Carrigallen, and it's going to be in
Great.
Ballyhaise and a few places around here, Killigarry and different. We're going around GA clubs nationwide.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
That's absolutely fantastic. Very exciting time.
It is, yeah.
Teresa Walsh is our other guest that's on today. You're very welcome to the show. Teresa, tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm Bridget from the town here. Originally from Monaghan. Up Monaghan there one.
Oh yeah.
I recognised you when I seen you first. Remember I said, I know you to see you. I'm from Mullaghorn as well.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Well, small.
Are you
Yes.
neighbours, or is it
Yes.
is it a long outlying territory?
No. But I think you're only from up the road from me. But that makes Mullaghorn sound like it's massive now.
Oh, it is
because we
massive.
didn't
It's
know.
nation.
We didn't know.
Well, it
for
is
sure.
There's a part of it in every.
Is it a republic or an empire or a federation?
No matter where you go in the world, you always meet a Mullaghorn person.
That's very true.
And you have
That's
your own
bizarrely
currency
true.
up there, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we start.
I used to work for a publican who will remain nameless at this moment in Cavan Town, who used to say that Mullaghorn was a state of mind. And on that note,
On that note, indeed, talking about publicans in Cavan Town and Cavan business, this week is Cavan Sale Week, and it's a local initiative to try and encourage Cavan folk, if it's possible, to get them to spend more money.
spend money.
I don't know, is it possible to get people to spend more money? Have you engaged in Cavan Sale Week? Have you?
Did you know it was on?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I actually didn't know it was on, and had I known, I probably would have come up, but
Yeah.
I must have just missed it. I don't know how I missed it, but I did, and I was kind of a little disappointed because I was thinking, oh well, it would have been
could've got a
nice to
bit
come
of
up
a
and get a
bargain.
few bargains.
Yeah.
But of course we are from Cavan and we don't really like parting with the pound, so I know I'm only joking.
No, it's
Well,
true,
it does-
But I
It shows
definitely
that-
like parting with a pound when I'm getting a 2 for 1 or a bargain.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But doesn't it show that it is a lie that Cavan people had an innate radar built in that
For
when
the-
they
for
hear
the
the word
sale.
sale that they actually just
Yeah.
automatically
Yeah.
gravitate towards it?
It's free,
Unknown to
they
themselves.
Well,
gravitate.
I always thought
Yeah.
the funny thing was if you were abroad or anything and you met somebody from Ireland and they said, where are you from? And you said Cavan, they'd say, oh God, love you. And then you'd actually feel like, well, I'm going to have to buy you as much as possible now. I am not
To make
stingy.
up for the
Yeah,
fact.
and then you'd be out of pocket basically doing it.
Yeah.
But no, I think the sale is a brilliant idea. I read in the Celt just about one woman saying, it's an early start in Christmas shopping, getting some bargains. People are strapped for cash. It's nice to be able to buy something now, put it away for something like Christmas,
Yeah.
which is a huge expense.
Oh, yeah.
And if you needed a pair of boots or shoes or
Yeah.
get your hair done or whatever it was, it's nice to get 10% off or a tenner off or
Yeah.
a few
Yeah.
euro off.
Yeah. What do you think, Teresa? Was there a bit of a buzz about it?
I heard about it on the radio, so I did, and I did go down to a few of the towns, but there wasn't really what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd been more of a teenager. Well, I haven't got a teenager. I'm a 25-year-old.
When did you stop being a teenager?
It's very
You
hard
need to cut that string.
It's very hard to buy for
You should
him.
be going in buying for yourself.
Buy for him. But then I have a granddaughter on the way, so
Oh my
Oh,
God,
lovely.
another one
exciting.
on the way, so we have. So I've kind of like buying for them, so yeah.
Right.
So it's going ties and things like that. But I went out to the retail business park, out there beside thing. But I didn't see any much of that there. It did say it was going to be out there, but I didn't see much of it out there. So,
So maybe I think it's something they need to build on. I did see a piece in the paper in Celt saying that they're going to make it an annual event.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
There was that thing, that campaign at one stage, Fiver Friday or something as well.
that was Joe
That's-
Duffy.
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
from the Joe Duffy show.
And that was a good
Yeah.
idea. I mean, it was that kind of thing of,
Mm.
well, you can get this and this for a fiver on a Friday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of those kind of things are, I mean, the businesses, I suppose, especially, October, November, the quiet months
Yeah,
in
Yeah.
businesses.
terrible.
You need
November
something
particularly.
You
to
need
promote
something,
business to get people
and
out
people
there.
need the encouragement maybe to spend a little and realise, if we don't spend, we're not going to get out
Yeah.
of this mess, but we need to have something to spend as
Do you
well.
think it could have been marketed better? Because I didn't hear about it until midway through the week.
And you've
through
been
the
in
event.
Cavan all
yeah,
week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Possibly.
the signage
Yeah.
wasn't very good. It was just
Yeah.
kind of
No.
some small posters
Yeah.
in some shops.
Yeah,
It wasn't
someone
very
had. It
prominent.
was supposed to be a blue and white flag day.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was saying to myself, now, because advertised on the radio, said Joe Finnegan's show, and he was here on that particular Thursday morning before it started,
Mhm.
right? And he did say about it, and I was thinking to myself, now, if you had to
Yeah.
say which shops were doing
Who's
it,
taking part in
who's
it?
taking
yeah.
part,
Yeah.
who's doing that?
Yeah.
Because I was telling myself, now, who's doing it? I'm down the town, and a couple of shops, I kind of just we, as you said, we posters on the window.
Yeah.
Some of them had the blue and white flags, but then blue and white is
It's the
Cavan
Cavan colours.
So you wouldn't know if it
So
was.
it's
Yeah.
in,
Could be some patriotic person
Yeah.
who's not.
No,
cutting
because
the-
not everybody follows football, even though.
Yes,
Well,
I don't know how
even though you are now.
Yeah.
Oh, Mulahorn.
Football, the horn, and the handball, right? But anyhow, they thought there might be some sort
Yeah.
of football going on. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Because there's always
So-
blue and white flags up for some.
Yeah.
So it was
Cavan
just to
Gaels
get a bit more, if they got a bit more of a campaign going ahead
Yeah,
of it.
maybe
or
some
so,
shops
something.
are
yeah.
doing it and everything like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Advertise it
But
a bit
these
more.
things grow, they
They
start
do,
off the
and
first year and people aren't sure about
Yeah.
running them or
Yeah.
about hosting them in the shops, and it'll
You're
probably
right.
grow.
They
Mhm.
gather a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
good excitement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to our next
We are
story,
indeed.
and it's about the Cavan farmers who have joined the March on the Dáil to protect Irish family future
Absolutely.
farms.
This was a massive turnout.
Huge.
20,000.
It just goes to show the strength of the IFA
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how good they are mobilising and organising people.
Yeah.
It's
There was something like 20,000
Yeah.
Yeah.
people, I suppose,
Yeah.
farmers, wives, people associated with the
Mhm.
agricultural sector. And what was nice was, the IFA were running buses from Cavan and from Monaghan and
Yeah.
really parishes throughout Ireland.
Yeah.
So, people had no reason not to go because we have a bus and everybody's, I suppose, gaining momentum
They're
to
a
do this
serious
kind of
force
thing.
when they mobilise.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and when you think about farmers, their children, their wives, the people maybe who just
There
do
were female
farm.
farmers out there too.
Absolutely,
Yeah, there was
yeah.
a
Oh
female
yeah, female farmers.
farmers,
Sorry,
yes.
yeah.
female farmers and their husbands.
And their husbands,
Yes.
who maybe are like, suits. Absolutely. And I mean, like all of the people who love that way of life, it's very important to them. And I suppose, the different cuts in the budgets and that kind of thing has been hard on farmers. Although you had other people saying times are good for the farmers, and I'm not a farmer.
Yeah.
So
So that's nearly why it's interesting to get your opinion. You're not a farmer.
I'm not a
and
farmer.
So to get the idea of a lot of people were saying farmers, sure, the agriculture
Yeah.
is the only business making any
in.
money these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they wanted the
And they're-
farmers to,
yeah, and they're
because
taking-
they're making the industry and everything like that, because of the, the building industry had gone boom. They said the farmer was going to bring it up. But then if they're bringing down these, things, the money they're not going to get,
Yeah.
whatever, I don't really understand, as I don't come from a farming background myself, so I wouldn't know. But there's one conflicting story that the big farmers
Yeah.
are going to lose out, but the small farmers are going to be all right.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
conflicting stories
Yeah.
there, which is which, you know what I mean?
I think it's hard to kind of get into the nitty gritty of it, and particularly when you
Yeah.
start to talk about subsidies and how subsidies have
Yes,
impacted
if
an
you knew
industry
what they were talking
that
about.
people's brain,
Yeah.
you just glaze over.
But
Yeah.
you look at the thing
Someone-
of, say, is it the rural development and all that kind of stuff, where farms, say the likes of West Cavan or the places like that, where the land, is it rocky, it's probably hard to
Yeah.
farm, maybe only
Yeah.
suitable for sheep, or, there's no crops being grown, really, because it's not suitable.
Yeah.
So farms like that, in Cavan as well, tends to be a lot of small
holdings,
farm holdings.
Yeah.
But it's all to
Where-
do with dairy farming as
Well, dairy
Yeah,
farming is
Dairy
huge here
farm,
as well,
just
yeah.
dairy farming,
But then, of
so
course,
it's
they're
not to
always
do with
crying out
crops.
for better prices in the creameries,
Yeah.
and they've been, trying
Yeah.
to see if they can get them.
One of the most interesting points I thought a lot of them brought up, and I thought that this would have resonance with people anybody who goes and shops during the week, is the difference between the price paid to the farmer and the price
on the
that
shelf.
we're
Yes,
paying that a
yes,
shopper
yes,
is.
huge
It's
difference.
It's huge,
absolutely
yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
That does seem like somebody is ripping the consumer off, and
Yeah.
that for that reason people should become more interested in farming and
Absolutely.
the
Well, I
whole
mean, that's
system around
that's
it.
where our milk is coming from, our cheeses, our
It's the backbone of the entire
everything,
country.
everything is coming. But the thing is, that farmers need to be supported as well, because it's it would be sad to lose the traditions that we have, I feel.
But what if it's not what if it's not sustainable? You know,
that's the other thing. Is it sustainable?
Yeah.
Is your farm sustainable? If it's not, let's do courses. Let's see what you do need to become sustainable. So it's not. I suppose there's no point in propping up.
That's the point as well. There is a point about that.
There is a
isn't
little
there?
bit of
You
a
know,
point
I've
in
talked
that too.
to quite a few farmers in my local area who have said that, you know, they would live on a medium to small farm, and they say it's not worth our while anymore. That, you know, and I'm bewildered at this. I'm thinking, but you have land, you have a plot, can you grow food or have a few cows? But really, when you take in the costs, it
Costs
isn't
are
worth
massive, yeah.
their while.
Cost of feeding cattle.
I tried to have a small, vegetable plot this year myself, and the work that is entailed,
It's huge.
and
Yeah.
even buying your seeds, going out. I mean, it is full time, and that's just a wee handful of crops in a garden. So, I mean, when you have cows to milk, it's a vocation.
I think Teresa
it
has
is.
a bit
Yeah.
of experience there as
Oh,
well.
don't
the
talk
Fair
about
Green
the garden.
Teresa.
Yes, it was going great. So it wasn't the slugs had a great
Oh my God! Are you
There's
serious?
so much work, though.
But there is so much work involved. You
Huge
have to be
amounts.
down there nearly every day.
Yeah.
You need to wear a pistol and a gun. Shoot the slugs.
Is that legal?
No, I'm not.
That's a sure.
I'm
Field
not.
traps
I'm
the
not.
whole way.
I'm
Let them
not.
drunk,
I'm only
let them
messing. You know
explode.
what I mean? I'm not a violent.
I'm just
Only
gonna, I'm
do
just gonna,
that.
just gonna move over here now.
Is that what beer traps do?
Yeah, it
Yes.
attracts
Yeah.
the slugs,
Attracts
so when
the
they go
slugs.
in, they drink and drink,
Yeah.
and it has a reaction which makes them
Yeah.
explode.
It's very
I think
gross.
it's the.
But
Really?
they die drunk, so
The drunk,
they die
yeah, they're
happy.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. No, I'm not so sure. You're
I'm
not
letting
gonna
them have a
convince me.
party every night. We're good parents. We were to them.
One last hooray, huh?
And the good thing is, you know, the Fair Green Garden is up where, you know, there's some local drinking going on, so there's
Yeah.
always a little
Yes.
bit of extra
Extra
beer
beer
for the
going on.
slugs.
Oh,
yes,
lovely.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, the other thing as well is that if you think about like farming is, how much somebody puts into it and how much they get back out of it.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
have, say, jobs where it's maybe a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 3 or that. But, on a Christmas day when you have to go out in the
Oh, it's
freezing
hard,
cold
yeah.
because
That's
there's,
commitment.
Yeah.
It's
how
a
can you be
vocation,
paid
not
for
just
that?
a job.
Yeah.
It
It's true. That's just
Yeah.
pure commitment. Like
Sick
it's-
sheep,
They just
sick
don't even
cows,
think about it. Yeah.
sitting up nights in a shed in a byre looking at an animal, all of these kind of things. This
It's
is,
just been passed. It's been passed on.
but it's in the
from-
blood.
You see,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
such a hard life, and I suppose when there was the option of something else, particularly Tracy, you were after talking about construction there.
Yeah.
When the construction was going well, like loads
Yeah,
of
because a
people,
lot of young
that's what they were
lads,
doing.
farmers,
But-
went
Yeah.
into the construction. They left, and all the young fellas. I know.
And
that
went down that
went
road,
down that
yeah.
road
Yeah.
because they thought they'd be better money, with the construction.
Which there
No,
was
no,
for a
yeah,
good while.
there was for a good while, but now they're coming back to the farm.
Well, actually, well,
Yeah.
just on that as well, and it's kind of a different note, but the county development plan consultations are coming up about zoning land and all that kind of stuff. So it's open to the public. November 6th, I think, is the first one in the library. So people should try and get there and say, maintain some land for farming, maintain it for agriculture. Let's not have a return to the building boom because we do hear a lot of that lately, that people want to return to that.
But the building boom yourself, how all the houses were built
Yeah.
for the population. There's
Never came.
Nobody's-
Yeah.
no, but the houses are there, all right, right?
Yeah.
But there's no people to go in. There's people,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
There's no people to fill a lot of those.
No
No.
people to fill. It's
Yeah.
like Cavan town. There's houses been around the whole place here, so there is, and there's not enough people to go into the bloody things. There's
Yeah.
not. Do you know what I mean?
Well, look, if we got some of those houses and put them on wheels, because they are light and bad
Yeah.
material,
Yes.
might have some buses for West Cavan.
Oh yeah.
Which brings us to our next
Oh, very
story.
good.
Bus Éireann, which we discussed last week, has cut the bus routes in West Cavan, or will cut the bus routes from Monday onwards, apparently. And
So Deputy Brendan Smith was jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, boom, boom, as it were. He said that Minister Leo Braga had no respect for the people of West Cavan. There you have it in relation to bus routes. Should the cut? That's your country.
Yeah, that is.
the West.
I mean, yeah, it's. I realised that, say, I think the town of Bonboy especially is getting
Yeah.
it's quite
Particularly
hard
badly
hit
hit.
because there's going to be something going from Swan and Bar this way, and there's going to be going something from Ballyconnell up to Cavan, but like Bonboy and
For
all
some
of
reason.
has just been.
Well, I put in a bit of research to find out what Bus Éireann suggests people should do.
Yeah.
And the bus that they suggest you hop on from Bonboy brings you to Killashandra, Arva, Ballina, and then up into Cavan,
Yeah.
which means it's an hour and 15
Oh
minutes.
my God,
Yeah.
from one boy
yeah,
to Cavan.
to get like, I mean, the thing about it is
It'll be
that
quicker walking.
you
Yeah.
would.
Yes.
You probably would. Back to the horse and cart. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
No, I mean, the thing is that it's, it's excluding people, first off. It's, you know, I believe that, say, the service, if you come back up... Oh,
we have a few...
look at this.
Black Lion.
Black Lion, Cavan this way,
Fantastic.
Shannon Pot. I mean, people who are there trying to maybe get up for a hospital appointment, maybe there's a lot of different people who don't drive. There's the people who can't drive and maybe are afraid to drive who don't drive. There's the people who, for medical reasons or one reason or another, aren't allowed driving, maybe bad visual impairments, anything like that.
The old people,
the older people,
just aren't confident maybe taking the spin into town.
and those who can no longer afford to have a car and only have to go to Cavan for an appointment or for something like that, to get glasses or to get whatever. But to think that you can only get once a week, that you can get from I mean, in this day and age, it actually kind of beggars belief how something can't be done to make sure that at least one daily service, but also that there's a daily service which gives people ample time to do their shopping and do a few bits before they have to return home. Like that you have an hour and a half's window.
Is it going to turn into an expedition where you have to go to Cavan and stay overnight before you come back or something? Or
I don't know.
Bring a tent.
Well, I mean,
Chandra Arva route is just...
Isn't it?
It's like bureaucracy gone completely insane.
I mean, there is an opening there for maybe somebody you know, who could do a service maybe daily, because.
But also part of it. Well, actually, there's a West Cavan Leitrim car service that's been set up recently. That's to service community people, to get them to and fro. Like hospital appointments, doctor appointments, that kind of thing. So that's accessible.
But on that way too, the other side, didn't they take the buses from the other side as well, like the west, you know what I mean, Leitrim, that direction too? But they reinstated them, but only stayed them for so many.
Yeah, between Manor Hamilton and Dowra, Black Line have been cut as well.
Yeah.
So
basically, if you're in that little pocket there, you can't actually get out.
And you're not talking about these, and you're right.
If you don't have a car,
it's a very small kind of,
and it's very mountainous. It's not exactly.
Area,
It's not. You know what I mean. So it's kind of. I mean, maybe it'll be good for a local shop local, because you can't shop anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can't actually get out.
There's the silver lining there.
I'm caught in Dara.
I have to shop in the local.
But as you said, the older people going for appointments and
that's when it becomes a big problem.
We've heard a lot from local politicians, from government and stuff, that about cross-border trade and stuff. Does Bus Éireann have a strategy to force us across the border? Because we do have another point that they're putting in extra bus stops, bus routes in Northern Ireland.
They've put in a new northern stop, a stop in Benelec, which is just over the border.
I'm just trying to think
the rationale.
To be honest, though, I mean, knowing Benelec, it's a lovely little quaint village.
But what is it?
Quaint.
But there's a supermarket. I mean, there really isn't. There's nowhere that you're going to be shopping unless they're thinking of building a big shopping centre.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, stopping off there isn't. I don't feel like.
And you wouldn't imagine there's a huge population that's going to be getting on the bus either.
Yeah.
But if people were getting on the bus, they'd only be going as for appointments. Nobody's going to go down and do shopping there. I mean, if you're going to do shopping down the town, you have bags and bags and bags. You put them into the car and mount the car. But if you're going to do shopping, you're not going to put bags and bags onto the bus. You're not.
No, it is difficult. But
I mean, it's expensive to run a car at the minute, and a lot of people are taking the option.
They should be given the opportunity.
Of we should have, I suppose, public transport that would service every village, once a day, where you can go in the morning and come back in the evening. Even that's even going back to the old days.
Hopefully the Cavan area rural transport, the CART or the Bis and Kilnalek could come up with something. Yeah. But again, their resources are stretched and cut consistently.
Well, anyway, I mean, it's
there should be something in place.
Gosh.
It's just in these straitened times.
I know things are just going from being like. They're just going backwards, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of going backwards, Cavan County Council seems to be going backwards on the 1983 piece of legislation which opposes any forms of legislation allowing abortion in the country. On Monday they decided, is it unanimously? Was it?
I think, was there one?
One councillor?
Yeah, maybe? I thought so, yeah. We'll see that. We'll get this right.
Pro-choice
one
movement.
somewhat dissenting voice.
Somewhat dissenting.
Within the chamber. That was Fine Gael's Sean McKiernan. I was thinking there was one
Sean.
who asked that his comments not be misconstrued as an indication of his opinion, but said it was populist to attempt to debate a matter so serious even before it had been put on the agenda. So basically what happened was the councillors discussed, they've been accused of being naive by some pro-choice people, because basically Fianna Fáil's Downey Brady called for support for a motion in keeping with the decision expressed by the people in the 1983 referendum. I'm getting caught up in it, and we haven't even started. You're everything about it is so. You just you're so cautious.
It's emotive as well.
It's just so emotive, it's unbelievable, and you don't want to say the wrong thing but what were they? Why would councillors even bring this up?
Well, I suppose it is. It's a big topic at the minute because the government are looking at it, and of course with the new centre opening in Belfast, it is it's really top of the agenda at the moment. Plus, it's really evoking this whole kind of religious, moral, ethical, political.
Would you think it's probably? I mean, since maybe the old days of the Civil War or Troubles, is it probably the most sensitive question in Irish culture at the moment, in Irish society?
Quite sensitive, I think. Yeah, it is.
Or maybe
and people feel
so.
strongly.
What do you think, Teresa?
I don't know now. Do
you think the people are, they're still it's nearly an issue that here it is back again, and is there a sense of, oh God of Almighty, we can't deal with this again? Is there a kind of a sense of that? Do you think?
Yeah, I suppose there is, because on the last one, I remember the last ones we did, and we were all voting, and it was kind of like, it wasn't really explained really well to the people. Do you know what I mean? And they an awful lot of people said no, they weren't going to vote. But they had a choice, either vote on it and no at all, or vote on it to say it was going to, if you had the life of the mother and the child.
That's the last time,
you know what I mean? I presume that's the 80, that was there?
No, there was one in between.
That's what I was trying to think.
Yeah, there was.
That's the one I'm thinking of then.
Yes.
No, that was, but that was it the last one?
Yeah.
The one that the 80s, and I can't
1983 was just
Again,
straightforward.
that
was the keep your rosaries off our ovaries.
Look, the way I see it is
it was very anti.
Yeah,
that's right.
But I mean, society's changed incredibly since 1983.
I wasn't
when I was
born
reading
in
that, I was
1983.
thinking, that was my first reaction.
So it's not really the will of the Irish people, because it doesn't take into account
a generation.
Anyone from my age down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from people up to 28, basically down 28.
She means 22.
Yeah, I meant 22. But it basically means that there is a huge section of Irish population who haven't been asked
Given
their
a choice.
opinion. And it's not to say that it will be different or it won't be different, I don't know. But really, I think it's irrelevant what Cavan County Council think. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is, regardless of whether they vote and say, no, I'm opposed to this, the thing is still happening. Women, I think 4,000 women from the Republic and 1,000 women from Northern Ireland went over to England last year to have abortions. So regardless of what they say, this is the issue. So it's irrelevant.
But in the 80s, the times have changed so much.
Yeah.
I mean, you know yourself, when in the 80s, I know, we went to a chemist and you get served only the chemist, and that was it. Or else you had to go to the doctors and say, you wanted,
Yeah.
And nowadays you can walk into the any shop, pub or whatever, and get things.
Whatever you need.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a different time.
It's a different time completely, so it is.
Well, look,
do you know what I mean?
We're probably going to have to put it to the people again. That's
Well,
the
Well, I mean, that's
but
the
you know,
Europeans have decided we have to put it to the people again.
Yeah.
It's just up to the government to decide.
But I
when
think
they
it's
wanna have
more
the
for the young people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's for the young people, not for like say me, because.
But we're going to come back to this story on a national slant after the break. We're going to go for a break, and we'll be back right after this, folks.
I'm Gavin Duffy, and I'm saying watch cavantv.com. It's a great opportunity to see some great programs, and you can watch it all around the globe via the internet and on many platforms. I watch it myself. Great stuff.
Welcome back to Cavan TV and Forum Views with myself, Daniel Downey, and Sheila Reilly. And on today we have Karina Charles and Teresa Walsh. And we're going to be going back to the same issue from a national slant. So we were talking about the County Council's decision to go with the 1983 legislation on abortion. And there's also a national slant to this from Belfast, isn't
This
there?
is it, yeah, because this week, of course, there was a lot of controversy when it was announced that the Mary Stopes organisation was going to open an abortion clinic in Belfast, which will be the first time that a private clinic will be performing abortions in this country. In the north, of course.
On
Here
the
we have it in
island
the
of
top of
Ireland.
Times, on the island of Ireland, that's what they were saying. So there you have it.
What are your impressions?
Although I thought it was a bit muted, the response to it. What did you think? What do you think yourself?
Well, yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'm surprised that the church haven't come out a little stauncher. That's
I think
interesting.
one of the bishops did come out, alright.
One of the bishops did, yeah. I suppose.
A few priests in Cork have come out slightly.
Oh,
In
yeah.
Mitchelstown.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. But I suppose it's interesting to think that there is an abortion clinic now coming to Ireland, and like that, it's nothing of the government here. Don't really have much to say because it's on the island, but where's the?
Well, there you have, of course. This is that's
this
another debate entirely.
That's a whole different-
Yes,
we won't get into that
definitely.
today, but it's interesting that it's coming. I mean, back to the point of the issue. I suppose education again is something that has to come into play when teaching young women and young men about abortion and about sex and about all of those things. Did I say that?
Say those words.
It's okay.
Is it okay?
It's not RTE. We're all right.
Oh, great. Are you not allowed
We're
to say
grand.
that?
Yeah, you're allowed to say it. It's Cavan TV. You're allowed to say anything.
say
No, oh God,
feckin' sex.
cue. That's Dave just fainting there.
No, you
in the other
can't.
room. You can't say anything.
No, but I mean the thing is, look, we're all adults here, and the thing is that the education has to come and to tell young women and young men. I feel like from a teenage years up, because people are having babies younger and younger,
like
14,
it's
13.
scary.
But
That's one thing that doesn't happen in time.
That kind of seamlessly brings us to our next story as well, because there was a particular
all
woman
connected,
in Cork who decided that she would get up at Mass and tell children about her abortion and that special needs baby was a punishment from God.
So this was part of course, because the Catholic Church has launched a kind of a. They have launched their life program or whatever they're calling it, and basically it's going to be a pro-life. Although I kind of object to that term as if anybody's anti-life, but but that basically this was part of their new campaign, and they were running. There were leaflets at Mass and all sorts of stuff last weekend. But this priest anyway invited a woman who is available. She tours around apparently speaking. She represents some organisation, I think. And basically that she got up and spoke about her own experience of abortion in front of kids at a children's mass, and during the thing she said she felt her talked about her abortion, how an terrible experience it was,
apparently.
and then went on to say that she thought her special needs child was a punishment from God, which just.
But when they say children, you'd like to know what age these children were.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
children
If
It's
they're
not
under
really
18,
graphic.
You
they're
know
still
those children
impressionable.
masks.
Yes.
They could be any age. Like they
But
could
do you
be.
know about these? You know what I
They
mean?
could
You
be
know,
4, whether they're 4 or whether they're 18,
they're
they're
not
still
gonna
impressionable.
understand.
Do you think
But
it's
they're
even
not gonna
appropriate at
understand.
any sort of a mass?
no, because I don't think they'd understand what it is. They'd want to be get home and want to play with me toys and only me at Mass. I remember my young fella bringing him to Mass, and I used to bring the toys with me. This is the only way of keeping him quiet was to bring the toys with me, so you could play with the toys. Wouldn't even be listening to anything in the Mass.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I can't understand why would they want to talk about this in front of young kids.
Yeah.
Do you know about it?
And is it appropriate? Like, is it appropriate for people who maybe are like against, go against Catholic ethos in terms of a lot of other things? Maybe like, I don't know. It's like in a variety of issues. We all know they say talk about homosexuality or something like that, gay marriage. Would you be happy? Do you think is it appropriate for someone to go into a church and talk about gay marriage?
It's one of those things where, you know, we have to decide, I think, in Ireland as a society, where we want our education to come from. Do we want it to come from the church? Do we want it to come from our schools? Do we want it to come from the home place? Or who is responsible for educating children? I think people need to know things, and I think that there's ages where it's appropriate for a child to know about abortion, or it's appropriate for a young person. And I think, you know, when you get into the teens, is more appropriate than anywhere under 12, because at that age, that really, you don't need to concern yourself. I feel
but that
you need
particular
to
incident,
preserve childhood
that
as long
particular
as
incident
possible.
in Cork, this is only my personal view, but if my children went to that mass,
I would be
I would leave it
absolutely
just on the basis that I would want my children to grow up learning from a rational point of view exactly what the best choices are, and make their own decisions when they're ready to do that.
Well,
but to hear it from a completely...
Don't send your child to the church.
No, a completely emotive...
But
the church is supposed to be the moral guides of the country.
But they are entitled to put their views across. Like,
they are.
You know, their stance, you know, if you're reared Catholic, you know what the Catholic Church stance is on everything. You know, you're kind of just something that's, you know, ingrained in you from very early on. They are entitled, or are they entitled to still make that stamp, or have they lost their moral authority? You see, is that part of it?
But I think that as you said, that the children should have been, soon the parents were asked, do you know what I mean, to permission to do this, because in school they teach sex education.
No, it would clear. It would appear not.
You have to sign a form to say that yes, you direct your child to things like that.
They weren't
but
in this case.
In the Catholic Church, you're supposed to do the teaching of your religion to them.
Yeah.
Do you know, not the Catholic Church teach, okay, go to mass and them down there, you know, you have to go, but you have to teach them. You have the right to teach, you know, when they're trying to grow up, bless themselves and go on a bit further and further, and bring them to the mass, and then they'll listen to know, like, to the gospel.
To be honest,
and everything.
I think the big thing here as well is the fact that, you know, this woman has had an abortion, and her speaking about her experience, I wouldn't be anti at all, because I think it's very valuable for somebody who has gone through this to maybe share it with young women and men, and older men,
and that voice has been missing from the whole debate.
What really scares me is the thought that her child, who has special needs, I don't know the details of the case, is a punishment from God, is really sending out the wrong message, I feel, about the rights.
I mean, the article did say there were quite a few special needs children at the mass.
I think it's absolutely, I think that's disgusting.
So do they go home now? You know, the thing is, whether or not the position is right or wrong isn't the case here. The delivery of the message was emotive, insensitive, and probably a bad PR move by that particular church.
And the priest did apologise.
I mean, maybe the priest wasn't responsible for what she was going to say. Didn't know exactly.
It appears from reading the piece, and that we took that from the front of the Examiner, and from reading the piece, it would appear he didn't really understand what she was going to be talking about. You know, it kind of would appear that. But having said that, he's just sorry for the hurt caused. You know, which is really, he should be sorry for the fact that she's there at all.
It's sensitive, you know. It's very sensitive.
Not for children. It's for young women, as you said, young women, young men, and young men and young women. And it should be taught in, you know, secondary school. You know what I mean? Like,
that's probably true. All right.
Let's move on to our next story.
Lock your doors, folks, because the social welfare inspectors have been calling around to check passports, birth certs in a child benefit crackdown.
Do you want her coming into your home?
No, but she's not a social welfare inspector. She is the Minister for Social Welfare.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
She won't personally come personally.
She doesn't want to.
I know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind her coming for a cup of tea.
No, I like her.
Drop in any time.
So, what do you think? Do you think it's okay for inspectors to be doing such a heavy crackdown, coming into homes and
basically
checking?
They've even checked Fine Gael TDs. Apparently, they've been part of it.
Good.
Well, I'm glad to hear that there's a
balanced,
balanced, broad spectrum. If they're going to do this, it feels a little invasive, you know, the idea of it. But the thing is that I suppose, you know, Joan Burton is there with this big department, and she is trying to clean it up, and she's, you know, trying to do whatever it is that she feels is the correct course of action at the minute to try and sort out how much we're putting out, how much child benefit is going out. I mean, I know it's a really, really sensitive topic, because a lot of parents are terrified that their child benefit is going to be cut. So it's a thing that's maybe putting bread on the table and you know, paying the mortgage and things like that. So for it possibly needs to be done in some way so that the people who really legitimately need it continue to get it, and people who don't maybe don't. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
hard to, it's a hard one to kind of assess.
It is,
really.
yeah. And do you think as well that there's not enough about kind of, you know, the social welfare fraud, if you like, you know,
Yeah.
that people aren't, you know, we don't like to admit it, but part of the problem that part of the reason they have to clamp down is because fraud is rife.
Yeah, and it is, and I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, child benefit. Nobody likes the thought of somebody coming to the door.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the key.
that is the thing. Nobody likes to think, okay, you can walk into my house and you can check all of this kind of thing. It's not very nice, but I suppose there has to be I'm not.
But
there has to be a little something. I'm not sure if that's definitely
where's
the right
the line?
approach.
But what's the story like in terms of, aren't people like, this is our money, and you know, aren't we allowed? I don't mean aren't we allowed, but would you prefer that the government would clean up fraud, or instead of turn around and make cuts that are going to impact people in a different way in order to make the savings that they could make if they cleaned up fraud? Do you know what I'm? Did that question
Well, they're
come
not
out,
cleaning up fraud anyhow, regardless. You know what I mean?
But that's why they're calling on the doors. That's why they're out there. They're out there.
No, I
knocking on
meant
doors.
fraud as in social welfare
That's
fraud.
what I'm
and things
talking
like
about.
that.
That's why the social welfare inspectors are out. They're sending
Yeah,
them
but
out
it's
now.
not to do with child benefit and things like
Yeah,
that.
but it's child
But
benefit
then I'm
fraud.
talking with child benefit, like, you know, calling the doors of the people here. But what about the ones that are, you know, the ones that are coming over here and saying that they get money for their children over abroad? Who says, how are they going to...
I think this is part of it, the truth.
How
That
they're
they,
going
but
to-
they all have to have addresses here, so I think that's part of why
No, but
they're
their
calling.
children's not living here. They have children still over...
This is the joys of living in Europe.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I can go over to whatever, you know, can be saying I was from nationality here, but my child could still live over wherever she's come from or he come from. Do you know? And I get child benefit for them.
That's true, yeah.
But how do I know? How do they know that it's their
Yeah,
child?
well, that I know they don't know, of course.
A pass-
Yeah.
Should the benefit be means tested for the living standards of the country that the child is residing in?
Possibly.
See, that's what they're talking about too. But the child benefit being what do you call it, on the economy. You know what I mean? What everything costs and everything
Yeah.
that. Do you know what I mean?
Relative to
Whatever.
the,
Yeah.
relative to the economy.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you know, you think of that kind of like, I'm thinking of, the shows or the films that you see, which are like the people coming to your door and breaking in.
I know,
and
exactly
all of that
where
kind
you're
of
going
thing.
with this, yeah.
And that
yeah.
kind of state where, you know, it's kind of
Is
like...
that the type of place we want to live in? Yeah.
It
can be quite
is scary.
invasive and...
It is scary, and I'm
Yeah.
sure, you know, if you have nothing to hide, it's a lot less scary in ways.
Are there-
But you still don't want people coming into
But
your
you
house.
when you see, I'm
Are-
kind of like, you know, years ago when you see the guards or anybody coming to your house or anything, you know,
Oh,
for
yeah.
that's so,
Look,
you know,
we will be coming
government
to this story
kinda
later
like
on,
get
but
afraid.
is there bigger fraud that we could be saving money at? Like,
Oh,
for example,
gosh,
bank
yeah.
fraud.
Yeah.
That's...
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, I
See,
mean,
this
that's
is the
where you
thing.
nail one or two or three particular individuals who would account money-wise for the
Yeah.
loss of thousands
Yeah.
of individual fraud cases.
Mhm.
Is this, again, a misallocation of resources?
Yeah. I think
Or
so.
Do you
bad
think so?
priorities?
Yes, I think so, because theirs were not so long ago, I don't know who it was, but borrowed money to buy this land or to do this, something like that. And then all of a sudden they said the land didn't go through. But they didn't give back the money and said I couldn't buy the land. Didn't give it back. They just kept it.
But
Do you
that's
know,
that's how
millions.
casinos work these days now. Since
Do you know what I mean?
you gamble, you go in, you don't
Yeah.
have to pay if you
Well,
lose.
how come they were allowed to get away with all these
Actually,
millions?
I
And
might try and
somebody,
get a job doing that.
Yeah.
So-
like
Lovely.
somebody was
going to
overpaid
the
in the
bookies,
social welfare for €20,
Yeah.
and next next week, the €20 was taken back on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah.
was. 'Cause I know
And I mean, you're
somebody-
talking about €20 here,
Yeah.
and that's really where when people are on social welfare, and that
Yeah.
every €20 is
Yeah.
€20.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
to these,
Yeah.
to the banks and to the big boys that
Yeah.
you're talking about, €20 is
No,
like
no.
is a tip, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
for having a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
but
I know
it's
what you're
different
saying,
league.
yeah.
This is we're little league, and they're
Yeah.
untouchable.
Like-
And it's nice to see that there is maybe some accountability through the courts and that for some of what's going on, because that needs to happen, and it needs to happen like we're saying that the Fine Gael TD had a caller about the child benefit and checking
Yeah.
up. This needs to happen in a broad sense,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of people responsible for what happened, and
Yeah.
nobody is.
No.
Yeah, and it's
Yes,
very
yeah.
hard to imagine that you're going to have to open your door and see somebody checking out about your child benefit
Mm.
and
Yeah.
knowing in the back of your mind
Mm.
exactly what you're after saying there.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's fellas walking around in the golf clubs of
in Marbella.
and quite happy with themselves and living guilt-free out in these places.
Absolutely.
And the rest of us are picking up the tab
I get that.
and paying the price for it in terms of the way the country is.
Well, look, we're talking about paying for price. We're going to have to go on to Calor gas standing charges. And I've heard of inflation, but 700%. It's going from €25.40 to €199.70, the standing charge.
That's not a misprint.
No, that's not a misprint. That's the real deal.
No, it's just, it's mind-boggling how to
it's
justify
actually frightening. I think that's, like, imagine if you're, an older person.
Yes.
Depending on gas.
Terrifying.
It is.
This is coming at a time when I nearly can't afford to change over to Serview. I'm not even have a telly. This time 2 weeks.
Then don't worry about the licence.
So there's no need to worry about the licence.
No.
Well, actually, they've got you there as well, because they're bringing out a new broadcasting licence, which means that even if you have a radio in your house or a computer, you're done.
You see, it's to get the people who are living with the laptops.
My computer.
Yeah. This is you know what I mean. It's like everything is just getting. I mean, a little bit more expensive, or
it's a little chip here, a little chip there,
Death
and it's
by
just like
1,000 cuts.
Yeah, more or less. But I mean, if you are an older person now who's in the situation that I'm in, going, okay, I have an old telly. I actually don't have the 70 quid just on me right now, and I mightn't have it before the 24th. So I'm going to be looking at a blank screen until I can afford to pay for it, and then I don't have gas, but. Everything's just going up. Oil is going up that little bit. Gas is going up, and you're kind of going.
Everything is, yeah.
But and wages, work is becoming less regular.
Yeah.
Wages are either going down or you're doing more for your work. And you're kind of going, okay, well, how does this all keep adding up? And then I've no money to spend in the local shop. I've no money to spend anywhere. So how will the economy?
Cavan Sale Week doesn't
feature for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and even if you're from Derry, you can't get up to go to
in the first place.
Yes,
that's also a good point.
Or Blair and Bon Boy. I mean, so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Totally agree with everything.
Right, will we move on?
We'll move on to our next story. This, actually, there's a reason why I picked this, because I only found it in one paper during the week, and it's a tiny article, but it's Violence Against Patients report has shown that in 2011, 10,000 incidents at a cost of €81 million happened in, but yet it's been hardly reported. So it's
why?
We have some figures here as well.
Julie, that's great.
7,402 reports of patients falling from beds, cots, or chairs, which is
pretty serious.
6,633 reports of medication errors.
Now that's frightening.
Leave that.
Yeah.
But isn't it frightening?
But the next one,
that's 6.5 over.
The next one is the worst one for me. Is 4,350 reports of physical assault against patients, and these are verified incidents, not accusations, for example, that aren't founded. It's just 2,726 reports of patient absconsion.
Although I wonder what percentage of the 4,000 that were being physically assaulted or make up that.
Half escaped.
Like, according to that
article.
Four
of them on that article that I can relate to.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, it did happen.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
that's
the 4 of them I do.
Do we need to return you to somewhere?
Yes.
Did you abscond?
Yes, I did.
Do you abscond?
Don't tell anyone. I'm on Cavan TV.
My family doesn't know.
18,000 viewers a week, but don't tell anyone.
Don't tell my family.
But it's a scary thing, really scary. And it was just something that I found. It's literally a tiny piece that's this size in the newspaper, just hardly reported.
And they were saying, like, overall there was about 86,000 incidents of harm or near misses reported, like in total. Like, it's just phenomenal.
HSE really needs to clean up its act, doesn't
it? Definitely. Because the things that they were talking about, there were 4 of them, so they 3 of them, 4 of them. That it's one of the patients falling. Yes, that did happen. They went to the toilet. She was left alone. She wasn't supposed to be left alone. She fell in the tile, broke her hip. Second of all, the record's been wrong medication. Father was in hospital and he was supposed to be getting one medication, and they didn't give him because they told why they didn't give the medication. It's because they had the wrong records. They sent out records that it was 10 years before that, his own records, and they were treating him for an
ailment 10
years old.
So you can see why all of this is resonance.
And then ringing you up and telling him why did he not come to his has he not come to his chemotherapy? And the poor man is dead. Had been dead. for 2 weeks we had before.
Oh my
you know what I mean?
God, that's
Why was he not coming?
I mean,
he missed and giving out. Why did he not come? His appointments are very important.
Yeah, you do hear that though. You do
you
hear
know
of
what I
them
mean?
sending
Yeah.
notes to people who have passed away. I think we have to take another break now, so we'll move on.
Pat Short here. You're watching Cavan TV.
Welcome back to Forum Views on Cavan TV. Remember, folks, get in contact with us, come on the show, or have your topics discussed on the show on cavantv.com or drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So, Sheila and I are talking to Karina Charles and Teresa Walsh, and our next story is going to poor Bill.
Yes, Bill Cullen, his empire collapses. Debts finally come home to roost for Cullen. That's the piece. I think that's the Times. Entrepreneur's company owed 12 million to Ulster Bank. And this is the news this week that, of course, the well-known Bill Cullen, who is the star, if you like, of The Apprentice, definitely more so than any of the apprentices were anyway.
Definitely.
The famous author of his autobiography, It's a Long Way from Penny Apples. Which he told
Maybe
us
you should go
rags
back to
rich-
selling apples.
Rags to riches story.
Yeah, he was one of these guys. He left school quite early, didn't he? At 13,
Yeah.
and worked. With
He has a very inspirational story.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah. But it's one of those things where 12 billion, is that what
12 million.
12 million, sorry, owed to Ulster Bank. I mean,
Yeah, what's a million? Billion.
this is where it goes, this is what
Yeah.
would infuriate people though. It's like, people are playing with this money, gambling,
Yeah.
setting up these empires. It just shows that even the big guys can topple, and that things aren't.
Do you think was there a bit of glee though about him in some way, because he's nearly, I don't, the people kind of used to poke fun at him a little bit, through The Apprentice and through his appearance in that, and him and Jackie Lavin kind of heading off in their helicopters down to their
Different
hotel
world.
and all this sort of
Totally
stuff.
different world.
And there was a bit of a comedic value about him
Yeah.
for that reason, and that. Is there a little bit of kind of, is there a
The
wee
old
bit of that, do you
begrudging
think?
Irish
You
go.
can't get over us, huh?
no,
But for a man who consistently on The Apprentice, you always went on and on and on with these apprentices saying, count your pennies, it's all important about counting the pennies and making sure you're not over and everything. It's ridiculous.
and he's owing all this money to Ulster Bank. You see, the thing is, it's that thing of everybody thought that they were untouchable. Everybody
Yeah.
thought that the
Yeah.
bubble
Yeah, not the
wasn't
Bill
going
Collins,
to burst.
everybody, yeah.
These guys live a different life. They're whining and dining. They've got lavish lifestyles compared to you know, to a lot of us, you know what I mean? And there's helicopters and weekends away in spas and places that are like 500, you know what I mean? Big money that we just wouldn't even know about.
Do you not think the banks again saying, you know, oh gosh, I need such money, I'm going to do this thing. Oh, here, take this. Take this. Oh, don't worry.
The less you have to pay for.
But it's still irresponsible to take money like that and to borrow more than you have a capability to pay back.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's irresponsible business.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So
has anybody shown that they know how to do responsible business? So
Yeah, well, and
think that
on this subject, we just moved.
Can I just end this subject by saying, Bill, you're fired.
Oh God.
Let's go speedily on to the next story.
I'm really sorry about that. Let's go. Okay,
you
moving on to the next one, which
Okay,
is sort of
stop.
related as well in that we're talking about money. But it's Sean Fitzpatrick and his and two former Anglo executives have been sent for criminal trial, and that was up this week. That was the news this week.
Mm-hmm.
So was there again a sense? We've talked a bit here tonight about the idea, you know, when we were talking about social welfare inspectors, somebody knocking on your door, and that all these bankers getting away with it. Is there a sense that maybe that the chickens are finally coming home to roost for these guys? Now, bearing in mind this is going ahead for a criminal trial, so you know, one never knows what will happen.
This is the same fellow arrested. This is the same fellow we're talking about arrested twice before, was it? No, this is not the same fellow. No,
this is Sean Fitzpatrick. He's the head of Anglo Irish.
Yeah, he has been arrested twice before and let out again.
Yeah. This time he's been sent for criminal trial. Like this is very. It's all related to this
seeing
investigation.
is believing. I'll just have to wait and see him in his striped.
The interesting thing also about this case is that he's requested that his personal fortune, I think it's somewhere in the article,
no,
his personal fortune or his personal finances should not be looked into because it might prejudice the court findings. Now that's incredible. I'd love to see what's in there then.
Wouldn't anybody go into court, particularly in a case trial like this,
you
don't look at my personal finances.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing. It's like, you know, this guy's going up to court, but it's like, I have this little nest egg of a big load of money that you shouldn't really be getting, you know, and you probably won't get looking at. I don't know what the case is going to entail, but I do think it's right that these guys who are the reckless lenders, the people who, you know, just kind of helped bring that country to a nice...
Allegedly.
Allegedly, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds out of that case. What happened? That's what you want to know. What did happen? The Irish people deserve to know.
And will it go on for ages?
And is it going to cost the taxpayer loads of money? Yeah, exactly. But everyone has a right to know what happened. And as we say, nobody is guilty until found so by the court. So we can't say too much about it, really.
Yes, but it is.
But I mean, you know,
there will be some cathartic experience for some people, in that they will feel at last that the questions that we've all been asking will maybe now be asked.
But Sheila, will it really matter? Like, you know, for example, look at the Haughey whole saga where we have to pay back $5 million this week to the Haughey estate for his legal costs.
Yes,
you know,
well, that was based on a decision that's a judicial decision that judges made. Anybody who appears in front of the tribunal is entitled to have their costs.
But do we have any clearance there? Do we have anything? That's probably the last piece of material that might come into the news regarding that. And
I know what you're saying, but I mean, essentially, once the decision was taken, I think that was Supreme Court. That was it. Then
there's just so much that goes on with the legal wranglings, the costs, the bureaucracy of it, the hypocrisy sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just, and you know, the more you get into it, you get a little bit more furious every time you hear a little bit more, and you just go.
But still, we're not taking out the streets just yet.
Well, we need to join the farmers.
We need to join the farmers.
We need the IFA to take over the running of our demonstrations.
I mean, seriously, it's nice to see that some section, like that was one of the biggest protests, the farmers in the capital in 15 years. So it is nice to see that at least there's some sections.
Someone can immobilise their.
We should get the farmers and the pensioners.
But seriously,
pension,
and actually there's a
protest. We just lie down and let them all take. You know what I mean?
That's true
Do you
too.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be a
There's
shelf
a
in stock.
protest, I think, this week as well. Weddings. It'd be interesting to see how
Yeah.
many go to that. That's for the home care, the home
Yeah.
help. I think home care.
carers, yeah.
So
yeah,
that'd
but
be.
sure, when them 3 young people stood outside the whole night and the coldest night of the year, I mean, your man Riley, he didn't change. He said, you know,
No,
he
They
wasn't
did
going
get
to
some
change.
assurances
They did.
in relation
Yeah,
to
but he said
Yeah.
he you know.
They still, the HSE did cut hours from last week.
Yeah,
though,
because they were having,
Yeah.
you know.
Look, let's move
Okay.
on to our next story.
We have an interesting one here.
An
Daniel, I'll-
exclusive.
Oh.
Now, this is a letter from the Irish Medicines Board, and it's to a local of Cavan. So we're bringing the stories back to Cavan.
she brought this to Cavan TV.
She bought online through eBay a product, a medical product, which is commonly sourced through herbal products, herbal shops, everywhere in. It's like a yeast product. It's red rice yeast. That's what it is. Harmless. But before she receives her package, because she bought it from eBay, she has to. You were requested within 2 weeks from this date to state the specific
So she got
sales
this letter from the
outlet.
Irish Medicines Board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of the blue. She had ordered the stuff online.
Okay.
A couple of weeks later, this letter arrives completely out of the blue from the Irish Medicines Board. So she hasn't contacted the Irish Medicines Board. She's just made a purchase online the same way as you might buy a top or a book or whatever. So basically, the letter I interrupted there. Go on.
No, state the specific sales outlet from which you ordered the product or where you purchased these products. And how did you become aware of the supply outlet? Very unusual.
On receipt of your response, the Irish Medicine Board will reassess your case, and we look forward to your cooperation in this matter.
But
This is the real deal.
But has she ordered this before? Is it the
No,
first time?
I believe that she hasn't.
But
I
that
think this
doesn't
is
matter.
the first time that she ordered.
Yeah, but is it not to do with those all those drugs that they were ordering over the internet or something like that? All these drugs, and they were
But
trying
this,
to.
but this is a drug
You're
which
right.
is
It
stocked.
probably is. It is.
Yeah,
That's
like
what it's in relation
echinacea
to.
and
But do you think that
No,
people?
but is there not just some sort of thing there not so long ago in the news about somebody was ordering all these drugs, young ones were ordering drugs over the internet and all that, not so long ago? Was there not
Yes.
something to do
There
with that?
was something
No,
about
last
that. Yeah, that they were
this
trying
week.
to count. That they were warning people as well.
Yes,
that
to
there
not
was-
take them because whatever
yeah.
was in them, they had to examine them to see there wasn't really
Yeah.
what was in
But
them.
This was a herbal product, and it wasn't as if the parcel had come through the post.
So she had just
They-
made the purchase, and then the medical board
Yeah.
knew about it before she even got the product.
yeah. So she
Is this-
she
So she
replied
did
by
reply.
asking, "Dear, am I under surveillance? Are you monitoring my internet use? Are you and Aircom watching what I Google? And how did you know what I purchased on eBay?"
Absolutely, yeah.
So she's requesting the information, I do believe, under the data protect or
Yeah.
Under
Yeah.
FOI, she's asked,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
what under the Data Protection Act 1988 2003 for a copy of any information you keep about me on computer or manual
Absolutely.
form.
So folks,
That is
Isn't that an amazing story?
that is really amazing that you could buy something 1 minute and that
it's being watched.
It's being
and
watched.
And
Who
not only that, but it's being
knows?
held until they get the right answers
Is it
from
not
her.
to do with the
Yeah.
like the postal and something like to do with that?
But what do you think it's okay, Teresa? I'm interested in this. You don't think it's a that bad a thing?
No, I'm
that
not
they'd
saying. Oh,
be-
yes, you know what I mean. If it's it, well, I do and I don't. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think
I can
you're
understand them. I
seeing
can
both
understand.
sides
I
of
can
it,
see.
yeah.
I understand the woman, right? She's really mad. This is only a herbal thing. But then I could understand them. Just in case it's not a herbal thing, and they
Yeah.
needed to check it out. Say that they're true, and it wasn't really a herbal thing, and it was just, and she had, died from it,
Yeah.
or she was severely ill, or she was in a coma, or something
Yeah.
like that.
But how
But
They're not
unfortunately,
responsible for these
Teresa,
things
the
to be
Irish
true.
Medicines Board knows what this product is. They know that it's a herbal
They're not-
product, not a dangerous product.
Yes, but I
So
know
why-
that.
But they're
then-
asking for the source. They're asking
See.
how you know.
But did they?
Did a
Did
red
they,
flag
could
somewhere?
they test
Red
it or
rice,
what?
yeah, red flag somewhere.
Will they test it to see is it actually what it is?
I don't know if the lady actually received the package in the end.
Do you know what I
I
mean?
think
Do you
maybe
understand
she
me?
is.
Is it, okay, she could be just a bit person, she's from it. If I was Karina here and I was getting this thing from Karina and Karina was sent me and it was, stuff to do, make me bread and all of that. And it was. that's grand and the whole lot, and she's just.
You probably need a bit of yeast for your bread, do you?
Yeah, she was legit.
I'm going to hold
going
your
to do
yeast
now?
until I find out where you
No, do you
bought it.
understand? I can understand them. You know what I mean? If it was, and it wasn't that.
I think that's scary, though. Again,
I have
It
to
is.
agree with
how
Karina here.
do they know? I mean, like, you know,
They're watching what you Google, what you order online.
You know,
But is it true, Google? Is it true?
Yeah,
But
Google and eBay.
She bought
Google
the
and
product,
eBay,
she Googled
and
it
then
for
her
eBay.
maybe her credit card. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, but I'd
I
like to
think
know how
on
the-
this note, we might come back to this because I think this is a story that has
I'd like to know
very
And remember,
interesting outcome.
folks, if you have stories like this or stories that you're interested in, do contact us
Yes,
on
please do.
drumlinmedia@gmail.com. We will air your stories. We will protect
Or
your
on
identity
Facebook.
through
We're
them.
on Facebook
Facebook
too,
us,
so,
yeah.
Get in touch.
And do keep in touch with us. We'll be back next week with more new guests. And thank you very much, Teresa and Karina, for your fantastic contributions. And thank you, Sheila, for fantastic hosting. So,
Thank you
folks,
for
thanks very
inviting us,
much for
Daniel.
Forum Views.